The Galactic Council's grand chamber was packed with representatives from all across the galaxy. Tall and short, with scales, fur, or even shimmering skin, alien species of every kind filled the room. They had gathered for their regular meeting, where issues of war, peace, and power were discussed. But today, the topic of conversation was different. Today, they were talking about humans. The council members were amused. Most of them had never seen a human in person, but they had heard stories of Earth's military trying to explore the galaxy. To them, humans were nothing more than a small, weak species, barely surviving on their little planet. The council members laughed, finding the idea of humans joining the larger galaxy's military efforts ridiculous. A tall alien with a deep blue face and 6 arms, known as Zalvor, stood up to address the room. He was one of the most respected leaders in the council, from a species known for its advanced technology and massive fleets. He tapped a few buttons on his wrist device, and a hologram of a human soldier appeared in the center of the room. The soldier was armored, but compared to the towering aliens in the council, the human seemed small and unimpressive. "This," Zalvor said with a smirk, "is Earth's finest soldier. They call themselves warriors, but they look like children in metal toys." His voice echoed through the chamber, and the room erupted in laughter. The aliens couldn't believe that humans were trying to be part of the galaxy's larger military force. Zalvor continued, "They think their ships can match ours. They think they can defend their planet from real threats." How cute. The laughter grew louder. Some council members even wiped tears from their eyes. To them, Earth was nothing more than a backwater planet with outdated technology. They had seen the human spaceships, slow and small compared to the massive, sleek vessels used by the more powerful species in the council. "Perhaps," said a shorter alien from across the room, "we should send them some of our outdated weapons as charity. It seems they're in desperate need." This comment caused another wave of laughter, but not everyone was laughing. A human representative sat quietly in the corner of the room, watching the scene unfold. Dressed in a simple uniform, they showed no reaction to the mockery. Instead, they remained calm, observing the arrogant council members with a thoughtful expression. It wasn't the first time humanity had been underestimated, and it likely wouldn't be the last. The humans stood up slowly, their movements deliberate, commanding attention. The laughter faded as the council members turned their gaze toward the human, curious about what they would say. "Underestimating humanity has always been a mistake," the human said calmly, their voice steady but firm. "You see us as weak, but you haven't seen what we're truly capable of." The council members exchanged amused glances, still not taking the warning seriously. Zalvor waved his hand dismissively. "Ah, yes, another bold speech from the humans. We've heard it before. Your kind likes to talk big, but you rarely back it up with action." The human smiled slightly, but there was something unsettling in their eyes. "We're not here to make threats," the human said. "We're here to offer you a chance to see what we're really capable of. But if you prefer to laugh, that's your choice." Without another word, the human sat back down, leaving the room in silence. The council members hesitated, unsure whether to laugh again or take the warning seriously. The tension was broken by a nervous chuckle from one of the smaller aliens, and soon the laughter returned. The human representative remained quiet, waiting. It wouldn't be long before the council's arrogance would come back to haunt them. They had no idea what Earth was hiding, but they would soon find out. The laughter still echoed in the grand chamber of the Galactic Council, but it was slowly fading as the human representative remained calm and composed. The council members had spent the last hour mocking Earth's military, convinced that humanity was no threat to the larger galaxy. They believed their technology and fleets were far superior to anything humans could create. But the human representative wasn't shaken by their arrogance. The human stood up once again, drawing the attention of the entire room. The laughter stopped, and curious eyes turned toward the lone human in the vast hall. There was something different about the way the human moved now, calm, yet with a sense of quiet strength. "I understand that many of you see humans as weak," the human began, their voice steady and confident. "You see our planet, our soldiers, and our ships, and you think we are no match for the great powers of this council. But I'm here to tell you that underestimating us would be a mistake." Zalvor, the tall alien leader who had led the mocking earlier, raised an eyebrow, his smirk still firmly in place. "A mistake, you say?
And what will you do if we continue to underestimate you?
Send your toy soldiers after us? His words drew another round of chuckles from some of the council members, though not as loud as before. The human ignored the laughter, their gaze sweeping across the room. Humanity has faced many challenges. We've fought wars, survived disasters, and endured hardships that would have destroyed other species. Yet here we are, standing among you today. There was a shift in the room. The council members weren't laughing anymore. They were listening. You think you've seen everything we have to offer? The human continued. But what you've seen is only a fraction of what we're capable of. Our true strength is not in the size of our fleets or the power of our weapons, but in our resilience. When we are pushed, we push back. When we are threatened, we do not retreat. One of the other council members, a small insect-like alien with shimmering wings, spoke up. You speak boldly, human, but words mean little here. What proof do you have of this so-called strength? The human's expression remained calm. Proof? You want proof? The proof will come soon enough. But remember this. When you finally see what humanity is capable of, it will be too late to change your mind. Zalvor leaned forward in his seat, his eyes narrowing. Are you threatening us, human? The human smiled faintly. No, I am offering you a chance to reconsider your position before you make a mistake that you cannot undo. The chamber fell into silence. The council members exchanged uneasy glances. They were used to being the most powerful beings in the galaxy, used to looking down on lesser species. But the human's words had unsettled them. There was something in the human's voice that they couldn't ignore. An underlying confidence, as if they knew something the council didn't. Zalvor, still not entirely convinced, waved his hand dismissively. Enough of this. Humans talk too much. If you think we'll be scared by your words, you're mistaken. The council has dealt with threats far greater than Earth. The human nodded slightly. Perhaps. But not all threats come from what you can see. Some are hidden until the right moment. With that, the human sat down, their warning hanging in the air like a storm waiting to break. The Galactic Council remained silent, unsure of how to respond. Deep down, some of them were beginning to wonder if they had made a mistake by mocking the humans. They didn't know it yet, but soon they would find out just how wrong they were. The Galactic Council was still recovering from the unsettling words of the human representative when new alarms echoed through the grand chamber. A red light flashed on every console, signaling an emergency. The council members quickly straightened up, their laughter and mockery forgotten as they turned to their communication screens. A large hologram appeared in the center of the room, showing a fleet of massive dark ships entering the outer territories of the galaxy. These ships were unlike anything the Council had ever seen before, enormous black vessels covered in strange, glowing symbols. They moved silently, with an eerie presence that made even the most confident members of the Council feel a chill. What is this? Zalvor asked, his deep voice now filled with concern. He leaned forward, staring at the hologram. Who are they? One of the Council's military commanders, a tall alien with silver skin and sharp eyes, stepped forward. We don't know, Supreme Leader. Our long-range scanners picked them up just hours ago. They appeared out of nowhere, bypassing our defenses. Their technology is highly advanced. The room grew tense. The Council had faced many enemies before, but this new threat was different. These ships didn't send any communication or warning. They were simply moving forward, destroying everything in their path. Planets were falling into chaos as the Dark Fleet approached, leaving destruction behind. Zalvor clenched his fists. How many ships? At least 1,000. But we suspect there are more hidden beyond our range, the commander replied. Their weaponry is unknown, but their firepower is immense. Our scout ships didn't stand a chance. They were destroyed in seconds. The council members whispered among themselves, their fear growing with every word. This was not a small invasion. This was a full-scale attack from an unknown enemy, one that even the Galactic Council might not be able to stop. We need to send our best fleets immediately, one of the council members, a bulky creature with 4 eyes and thick horns, shouted. We cannot let them reach the core planets. If they get any closer, our entire civilization could fall. Zalvor nodded, trying to maintain his composure. Agreed. We will gather our most powerful warships. They will not be allowed to enter our central territories. We will crush them before they can do any more damage. But even as he said the words, doubt lingered in his mind. The dark ships looked unstoppable, and the Council's military forces had never faced anything like this before. The fear that had been absent during their earlier mockery of humans now gripped the room. The human representative, who had been silent since their warning, stood up again. Their face was calm, but their eyes showed that they understood the gravity of the situation. "You thought humanity was the enemy?" they said quietly. "But this is a threat far greater than anything Earth has ever seen." Zalvor glanced at the human, his earlier arrogance gone. "And what do you suggest we do, human?" The human paused for a moment, then replied, "Prepare for the worst. Your fleets alone won't stop them. We're going to need every ally, every weapon, and every bit of strength if we hope to survive this." The council chamber was silent. The realization had set in. They were facing an enemy more dangerous than anything they had ever imagined. And for the first time in a long while, the Galactic Council felt afraid. The Galactic Council's fleets, the pride of the galaxy, had been sent out in full force. Massive warships, each one a symbol of their species' power, moved through space toward the invading enemy. Thousands of ships armed with the latest weapons and shields flew in perfect formation. The Council had faced many threats before, and they had always won. There was confidence in their ranks, but beneath that confidence, a growing sense of fear lingered. As the Council's fleet approached the dark enemy ships, tension filled the air. The enemy fleet had stopped, waiting for them, as if daring them to attack. The Council's commanders gave the order to engage, and beams of energy shot through space, targeting the black ships. Explosions lit up the darkness as the battle began. For a moment, it seemed like the Council's forces were holding their ground. Their weapons hit the enemy ships, causing small bursts of fire and debris. The Council's soldiers cheered, believing victory was within reach. But then, the tide of battle changed. Suddenly, the enemy fleet returned fire. Their weapons were like nothing the Council had ever seen, beams of dark energy that cut through shields and armor like paper. One by one, the Council's ships exploded, their defenses useless against the sheer power of the enemy. The battle that had started with confidence quickly turned into a nightmare. In the command center of the Council's flagship, Zalvor watched in shock as his fleet was torn apart. "How is this possible?" he shouted, slamming his fist on the console. "Our ships are the most advanced in the galaxy. This can't be happening." One of the commanders, pale with fear, shook his head. "Their technology, it's far beyond anything we've encountered. Our shields can't block their weapons, and our ships can't escape their targeting systems. We're being destroyed." The battlefield outside was chaos. Council ships tried to retreat, but the dark enemy ships were faster, cutting them down before they could even turn around. The once mighty fleet, thousands of ships strong, was now nothing more than wreckage floating in space. Fires burned across the debris, and the darkness of space was filled with the remains of what had been the galaxy's greatest military force. In the council chamber, the members watched the destruction on their screens, their faces pale with horror. The proud leaders, who had once laughed at the thought of Earth's military, were now speechless. They had believed their fleet to be invincible, but now, in the face of this new enemy, they realized how wrong they had been. Zalvor's voice trembled as he gave the order. "Pull back the survivors. We can't afford to lose any more ships. We need a new plan." But it was too late. The few ships that managed to escape were crippled, barely able to limp back to safety. The enemy fleet, untouched and victorious, continued its march toward the core planets, leaving only destruction in its wake. The council members sat in silence, the weight of their defeat sinking in. Their once great military had been shattered, their best ships reduced to rubble. The galaxy's most powerful civilizations had been humbled, and now the council found itself facing a terrifying truth. They were not as powerful as they believed. In the corner of the chamber, the human representative stood quietly, watching the scene unfold. There was no satisfaction in their expression, only grim understanding. The warning they had given had come true, and now the galaxy was paying the price for its arrogance. Zalvor turned to the human, his voice barely a whisper. "What do we do now?" The human looked at him, their eyes serious. "Now you understand. The fight isn't over. But if we are to have any chance of survival, we must fight together." The council had no choice but to listen. Their fleets were gone, and a dangerous enemy was still coming. It was time for the galaxy to unite, or it would fall. The Galactic Council was in a state of panic. Their fleets had been wiped out, and the unstoppable enemy was now moving closer to the core planets. Fear gripped every leader in the chamber. They had no plan, no hope, until the human representative stood up once more. "We warned you this would happen," the human said calmly, their voice cutting through the chaos. "But it's not too late. There is still a way to fight back." The council members, exhausted and defeated, turned to the human. Zalvor, the once arrogant leader, was no longer mocking. His voice was quiet but desperate. "What are you talking about, human? Our fleets are destroyed. We don't have the strength to stop them." The human nodded slowly. "Your fleets may be destroyed, but ours are not. What you don't know is that humanity has a weapon, a ship that has been hidden for decades. A weapon so powerful that it has never been used in battle, until now." The council chamber fell silent. A secret human weapon? None of them had ever heard of such a thing. Zalvor frowned, his eyes narrowing. "What weapon? What are you talking about?" The human tapped a few buttons on their wrist console, and a new hologram appeared in the center of the room. It was a ship, a massive dreadnought, unlike anything the council had ever seen before. Its sleek, dark design was intimidating, with rows of heavy cannons and powerful energy shields glowing along its sides. The ship looked like a fortress, built for one purpose: destruction. "This," the human explained, "is the USS Titan. It is the most powerful warship humanity has ever created. Armed with advanced weapons, energy shields, and stealth technology that can bypass any defense system, it was designed to face enemies just like the one approaching now. We never wanted to reveal it because we hoped we'd never have to use it." The council members stared at the hologram in disbelief. Zalvor, shaken, finally spoke. Why didn't you tell us about this before? Why hide such a weapon?" The human's expression remained calm, but there was a hint of steel in their voice. "Because you didn't take us seriously. You saw us as weak and you mocked our military. We knew that if we revealed everything, you would have laughed, just like you did earlier. But now, you understand the danger we're facing, and now is the time for this weapon to be unleashed." The council members were speechless. For the first time, they realized that they had grossly underestimated the humans. This dreadnought, the USS Titan, was unlike any ship in their own fleets. It was a symbol of the humans' ingenuity, strength, and readiness for battle. Zalvor swallowed hard, fear and hope mixing in his eyes. "Can it stop them? Can this ship really defeat the enemy?" The human nodded firmly. "It's our best chance. The Titan is already en route to intercept the enemy fleet. Our commanders are prepared to do whatever it takes to protect the galaxy." The room was filled with tension, but for the first time there was a glimmer of hope. The council had lost their fleets, but humanity's secret weapon could still turn the tide of the war. The once proud leaders who had looked down on Earth now had no choice but to rely on the very species they had mocked. The human turned to leave the chamber, but before they did, they paused and looked back at the council. "You laughed at us. You thought we were weak. Now watch what happens when you push humanity to the brink." With those final words, the human representative left, leaving the Galactic Council in silence, their eyes fixed on the hologram of the USS Titan, humanity's last hope, and perhaps the galaxy's salvation. The USS Titan moved silently through space, a massive shadow among the stars. Its sleek, dark hull reflected nothing, making it nearly invisible as it approached the enemy fleet. Inside the ship, the crew was focused, their hands steady as they prepared for the battle ahead. For years, they had trained for this moment, knowing that one day the galaxy might need them. That day had finally come. Captain Jackson stood on the bridge, his eyes locked on the display showing the enemy ships in the distance. The dark, ominous fleet that had crushed the Galactic Council's forces now loomed ahead. But Jackson wasn't afraid. The Titan was a different kind of ship, one built for this very situation. "All systems ready, Captain," reported Commander Lee, his voice calm. "Weapons are online. Shields are at full power." Jackson nodded. "Good. Let's show them what this ship can do." The enemy ships hadn't noticed the Titan yet. Their sensors couldn't pick up the Dreadnought's advanced stealth systems. It was as if the Titan was a ghost, slipping through the darkness unnoticed. This was their advantage, and Jackson intended to use it. "Target the lead ship," Jackson ordered, his voice firm. "Let's make the first strike count." The weapons officer, Lieutenant Carter, quickly locked onto the massive enemy command ship at the center of the fleet. It was their flagship, heavily armored and armed with powerful weapons. But the Titan had something they didn't: surprise. "Target locked," Carter confirmed, his fingers hovering over the firing controls. "Ready to fire on your command, sir." Jackson took a deep breath, his heart pounding with anticipation. This was it. The first strike that would determine the course of the battle. He glanced at the crew, their faces focused and determined. Fire. In an instant, the Titan unleashed its power. Massive beams of energy shot from the ship's cannons, cutting through space like blazing swords. The beams hit the enemy flagship with incredible force, ripping through its shields as if they weren't even there. The ship shuddered, explosions ripping through its hull as the Titan's weapons tore it apart. On the enemy bridge, alarms blared as the crew scrambled to figure out what was happening. But it was too late. The flagship, the heart of the enemy fleet, exploded in a blinding flash of light, sending debris scattering across space. The rest of the enemy fleet, shocked by the sudden destruction, turned to see where the attack had come from. But the Titan was already on the move, its stealth systems re-engaging, making it disappear once again. "Direct hit, Captain," Commander Lee reported, unable to hide a smile. "The flagship is destroyed." Jackson gave a small nod. "Good. Now let's take out the rest." With the enemy fleet in chaos, the Titan moved through their ranks like a predator among prey. One by one, enemy ships were targeted and destroyed, their defenses useless against the Dreadnought's superior technology. The Titan was unstoppable, cutting through the enemy fleet with precision and power. On the bridge of the Titan, the crew worked in perfect sync, their years of training paying off as they executed each strike with flawless precision. The once mighty enemy fleet, which had defeated the Galactic Council's forces so easily, was now crumbling under the relentless assault of humanity's secret weapon. In the Galactic Council chamber, the leaders watched in stunned silence as the battle unfolded on their screens. The humans, once mocked and underestimated, were now proving themselves to be the galaxy's greatest warriors. The enemy fleet, which had seemed invincible, was being wiped out by the sheer power of the Titan. Zalvor, his face pale with shock, whispered to himself, This is impossible." But it wasn't. It was real. The Titan had struck, and the galaxy would never be the same again. The Galactic Council chamber was a place of tension and disbelief. The once proud leaders who had laughed at humanity now sat in stunned silence, their eyes fixed on the holographic displays showing the destruction of the enemy fleet. The scene was a complete turnaround from the panic of days before. The USS Titan had decimated the enemy forces. Ships that had seemed unstoppable were now nothing more than burning wrecks. The council members, who had been so sure of their own superiority, now watched in awe as the tide of battle shifted dramatically. Zalvor, the supreme leader, leaned back in his chair, his face a mix of relief and disbelief. The council's earlier mockery of humanity seemed distant and foolish in the face of this unprecedented display of power. His voice was low and hesitant. Is this really happening?" One of the military commanders, still trying to process the situation, nodded. "Yes, Supreme Leader. The enemy fleet is in full retreat. The Titan has overwhelmed them with ease. Our sensors confirm that their remaining ships are fleeing." The room was filled with murmurs of astonishment. The council members who had once scorned humanity were now seeing them in a new light. The Dreadnought had not only turned the battle, but had also saved countless lives. The fear they had felt earlier was giving way to a grudging respect. The human representative, who had been waiting quietly, finally spoke. "The Titan is a product of humanity's best minds and our most dedicated warriors. It's not just a ship, it's a symbol of what we can achieve when we come together." Zalvor's gaze shifted to the human, and for the first time, there was no trace of the earlier arrogance in his eyes. "We underestimated you," he admitted. "We saw you as weak, but you have shown us the strength and capability that we failed to recognize." The human nodded, a hint of satisfaction in their expression. "It's not about showing strength. It's about survival. We've always known that in the galaxy, strength and unity are what matter most." The council members exchanged glances, their previous doubts and mockery replaced by a sense of respect. The Titan had not only proved its worth, but had also forced the council to confront its own shortcomings. Zalvor stood and addressed the council. "We have much to learn from this. The Titan and its crew have earned our respect and gratitude. We need to acknowledge this and work together to ensure that such a threat never arises again." One of the other council members, a being with shimmering blue skin and large, expressive eyes, nodded in agreement. Humanity has shown us that there is more to them than meets the eye. We must build on this newfound respect and form alliances based on mutual understanding and cooperation. The human representative smiled, a rare moment of triumph on their face. We are ready to work together. The threat has been neutralized, but the galaxy is full of dangers. If we stand united, we can face any challenge. As the council members began to discuss new plans and strategies, the atmosphere in the chamber shifted. The fear that had once dominated their thoughts was now tempered with a newfound respect for humanity. The USS Titan had not only won a battle, it had changed perceptions and forged a path toward cooperation. The leaders of the Galactic Council were beginning to understand the true meaning of strength and unity. They had learned a valuable lesson. Underestimating an ally could lead to disaster, but embracing and respecting their capabilities could forge a powerful alliance. The galaxy's future, once uncertain, now held the promise of a new era of cooperation and mutual respect. The Galactic Council chamber buzzed with a new, solemn energy. The once boastful leaders who had mocked humanity now faced a reality they could no longer ignore. The USS Titan had not only saved the galaxy, but had also forced the Council to confront its own arrogance. In the aftermath of their dramatic defeat of the enemy, the Council had convened to make amends. Zalvor, the supreme leader, stood at the center of the chamber. His normally confident posture was replaced by a humbler demeanor. The room was filled with council members from various races, each one carrying the weight of their previous misjudgments. The human representative, standing quietly to the side, watched with keen interest. Zalvor cleared his throat and began, his voice carrying an unusual tone of humility. Esteemed members of the Galactic Council and honored human representative, today we must confront our mistakes and offer our deepest apologies. The room fell silent. The council members exchanged uneasy glances. They had not expected this level of humility from their leader, but it was clear that the defeat and the power of the Titan had made a profound impact. Zalvor continued, "We have seen the power of the USS Titan and the bravery of its crew. We have also witnessed the consequences of our own arrogance. We underestimated humanity, dismissed your warnings, and treated you with scorn. For this we are truly sorry." The human representative nodded, their expression thoughtful but composed. "Apologies are a start. What we need now is to build trust and work together to prevent future threats. The galaxy is vast and filled with dangers that none of us can face alone." Another council member, an alien with sleek green scales and piercing yellow eyes, spoke up. "We must acknowledge that our actions were not just disrespectful but dangerous. By failing to recognize humanity's capabilities, we almost lost everything. We owe you more than just apologies." The council members looked around, their faces reflecting a mix of regret and resolve. They had been humbled, and the sight of their once proud fleets reduced to debris had brought a new perspective. It was clear that the lesson learned was deep and significant. Zalvor addressed the human representative directly. "We ask for your forgiveness. Our actions nearly led to a disaster that could have been avoided if we had listened and respected your warnings. We are committed to making amends and working with you to ensure that such a situation does not arise again." The human representative stepped forward, their gaze steady. "Forgiveness is not what we seek. We seek partnership and respect. If we are to face the future together, it must be on equal footing. We are willing to work with you, but it must be based on mutual trust and cooperation." The council members nodded in agreement. The atmosphere in the chamber had shifted from one of tension to one of potential. The apology was more than just words. It was the beginning of a new relationship between humanity and the Galactic Council. As the Council began to discuss how to move forward, plans were made for joint operations, shared intelligence, and new alliances. The mistake of underestimating humanity had been costly, but it had led to an opportunity for a stronger, united front against future threats. The galaxy's leaders were learning a valuable lesson. Respect and cooperation were the keys to a prosperous future. The Council's apology was a step toward rebuilding trust and ensuring that the mistakes of the past would not be repeated. The journey ahead was uncertain, but it was one that would be faced together, with newfound respect and a commitment to a unified future. The Galactic Council chamber was bustling with activity. What had once been a place of tension and mistrust was now alive with the energy of a new partnership. The recent battles and the devastating power of the USS Titan had reshaped the galaxy's political landscape. Leaders from various races, including humanity, gathered to formalize a powerful new alliance. Zalvor, the supreme leader, stood at the center of the room, flanked by representatives from different species. Beside him was the human representative, their presence a symbol of the newfound respect and collaboration. The mood was one of cautious optimism, as the galaxy's future hinged on the agreements being made. The Council had spent days drafting a comprehensive treaty, one that outlined mutual defense agreements, shared technology, and joint research initiatives. This was more than just a political maneuver. It was a commitment to a future where cooperation replaced suspicion. Zalvor addressed the assembly, his voice clear and strong. Today we are not just signing a treaty. We are forging a new era of unity and collaboration. The recent events have shown us the strength and value of each of our peoples. We must now work together to ensure the safety and prosperity of the galaxy. The human representative nodded, stepping forward to speak. Humanity is ready to contribute our knowledge, technology, and resources. We have learned that we are stronger together. This alliance is not just a military pact. It is a commitment to understanding and respecting each other's cultures and strengths. A member of the Council, an alien with vibrant purple skin and numerous eyes, spoke up. This treaty will include provisions for sharing advanced technologies, such as medical breakthroughs and energy sources. It will also establish joint military forces for defense and collaborative research into new frontiers. This is a unique opportunity to build a future where we all benefit from each other's strengths. The Council members and the human representatives signed the treaty with solemnity. The document, now emblazoned with numerous signatures, represented more than just a formal agreement. It was a symbol of a new era of cooperation and mutual respect. As the final signatures were inked, a sense of relief and excitement filled the chamber. The once distant dream of a united galaxy was now becoming a reality. The leaders exchanged handshakes and embraces, their previous mistrust and hostility replaced by a genuine desire to work together. With the treaty signed, the representatives began planning the next steps. Joint military exercises were scheduled to ensure that all forces could operate seamlessly together. Research teams were formed to tackle the galaxy's most pressing issues, from environmental concerns to technological advancements. Diplomatic channels were opened, and cultural exchanges were planned to foster deeper understanding among the different species. The human representative looked around at the assembled leaders, their expression one of hope and determination. This is the beginning of something remarkable. We have seen what we can achieve when we set aside our differences and work together. Let us move forward with that spirit of unity and create a future where every species thrives. As the new alliance took shape, the galaxy's leaders felt a renewed sense of purpose. The mistakes of the past had led to a powerful new alliance, one that promised a brighter, more secure future for all. The USS Titan had not only changed the course of a battle, but had also paved the way for a new era of cooperation and shared progress. The galaxy, once divided and fraught with conflict, was now on the path to unity. The powerful new alliance represented a beacon of hope and a testament to what could be achieved when diverse civilizations came together with respect and a common goal. The future was now filled with possibilities, and the leaders of the Galactic Council were ready to embrace it, side by side with their new human allies.